Hello and welcome to today's live and to the Intimacy Hub. Today's live, we're going to dive into beyond self-love, knowing another through knowing yourself. For those of you who are new to my lives, my name is Tziporah Kingsbury. I'm a somatic intimacy mentor, relationship educator, and breathwork trainer. And I have had the opportunity of traveling the globe, specializing in helping high-achieving adults who fear speaking up vulnerably, who feel disconnected as an outcome and unsure of what they need in their personal life or even how to ask for it. I help them to develop this deep inner peace and confidence so they can create emotional intimacy in their relationships and to live fulfilled both personally as well as professionally. So today we're going to dive into a question that came through a member of our page asking the importance of intimate relationship with oneself. And then I kind of turned it around a little bit to being beyond self-love, because often when we think of the new agey idea of loving oneself, what does that even mean? And in my perspective, interpretation, it's how can I dive deeper inside myself as a conduit, as a way to actually know another even more, and how I would even define that a little bit more succinct is how can I have more capacity for intimacy in my life by committing to this relationship with myself. And we begin by talking about felt sense. Now, there's a few steps when it comes to the redefining intimacy method that we like to explore. One of them is how can we develop a felt sense, and what does a felt sense even mean? So having a felt sense is actually the ability to feel the aspects of what I call chi sensation, as well as physiological sensations in our body, and how they actually affect our emotions. So on the emotional body, on our behavioral aspects, and how we act and react in our life, and our relational aspects, how they actually impact the way we relate. And the critical element involved in, excuse me, I just realized my mic was really far away. So the critical element in developing a felt sense is actually moving more into a feeling experience. You might have heard the terminology embodied versus a thought experience, which is where we judge and analyze, where we interpret or evaluate our experiences versus just being in the truth of what our body is actually feeling. And so the 4 steps and things that are involved in knowing oneself that are actually impact your interrelating ability is, number 1, to be accountable. And I'm going to dive deeper into what I mean by that as we go through our live today. Number 2 is be aware of your own as well as another person's feelings and needs. Now that's a big one, but again, we're going to dissect that, unpack that as we move along in our live today. Number 3 is how can you identify what is actually your evaluation and or interpretation of the situation as a whole versus what are you feeling, or in comparison to what are you feeling and what are you needing? And the 4th one is a really big one. The 4th one is to remember. Now have your ears wide open for this, maybe your hands on your own heart, to remember that nothing is personal, even when it feels like it is. You know, you might wonder, like, how can I say that? Everything's personal, especially if it involves me and if it involves a relationship that I'm in, whether it's with a friend, a colleague, or a loved one. However, if you can imagine, each one of us is actually acting out our life based on what we are feeling and what we are needing in every moment. So again, I'm going to repeat that. You, as well as me and everyone on this planet, is acting out of what they are feeling and what they are needing in every moment. So just hold on to that and let that stir in your system. And so accountability defines how you show up as a human being. It can be as simply as said as when you trip up, you have that ability to take in multiple views and to be accountable with what you were feeling and needing, why you took those actions, and how the whole of your system impacted the actions that you took. And so when I guide and help people to know themselves at a more intimate level, the first thing we start with is the felt sense. Because the physiological responses in our body are impacting the way we talk with somebody, the way that you move your body, the way that you make certain choices. It even impacts the choices that you make based on what you're feeling. You know, in Eastern philosophy and medicine, it's often said that we are controlled by sensation as humans. I'm a Vipassana practitioner, and I've been practicing Vipassana meditation for 5 years now. And I remember my mentor constantly saying that it's like, we as humans are controlled by sensation. So if we can get a heads up on it and start to develop a relationship with the sensations in our body, we can start to not get rid of those sensations, but we can actually move away from the judgment we have on those sensations and start to develop a relationship with them. Something that I call diving for light. You know, it's so easy to reach up to what feels good, and it's important at times to do that. However, there's also an equal importance to diving for the light. And what I mean by that is diving into those shadowy places, diving into those uncomfortable places, those things that you've judged as bad feelings versus good feelings. Well, I'd like to encourage us to take the good and the bad judgment away from the feeling and just be able to be with the feeling and start to develop a relationship with it. To understand, wow, like, what is this feeling saying to me? What is it telling me that I'm needing right now? Because when you skip over that step, because most of us aren't trained or learned or raised for this, is our feelings. Now I'm talking sensations, but the sensations then impact the emotions, and then they take control over our actions. And so we start to live from this place out of integrity, rather in integrity. We start to create harm and pain through our choices, through our body language, through the way we talk to others, through our emotional reactions and blames and shames. And so being accountable starts with developing a felt sense relationship with those physiological responses, with the sensation, as well as the emotion that it stimulates and triggers. And that leads into what I said about becoming aware of your own feelings and needs. Like, imagine this big explosive situation happened and you felt emotionally triggered and you felt all this rage and anger well up. And of course, the easiest thing to do, I think we've heard this over and over again, is to explode on those that we love the most. And so because you don't have the skill set, or you just haven't developed that relationship with going into your feelings and needs, is you stick with being controlled by the sensation and the emotion. And then that reaction happens and it impacts your responses, your relationships. However, what if you stepped back? What if you stepped back and you had the skill set to be able to, take a pause, create safety and inner security in your nervous system to self-regulate, and to identify, like if you had a new vocabulary, that a new literacy that you can start to identify in that moment. Okay, so what am I actually feeling? And then in combination with the third step, which, as I said, is identifying what your evaluation and interpretation is, where you can differentiate between what am I feeling versus what is my interpretation of the situation, because they're two different things. And then based on what you're feeling, you can actually start to identify, okay, well, what am I needing right now? And how can I fulfill those needs myself? And is there something that I'm needing from someone else to ask for? And so if you can tell already by my languaging, is by having the ability to be able to calm the nervous system, to self-regulate, to identify your own feelings and needs, it saves a lot of energy. It saves a lot of relationships. And all of this is part of you knowing yourself. All of this is part of the importance of building an intimate relationship with yourself. You are diving for light. You are diving into those intricate places that often we don't, or we aren't taught or conditioned to go. And that takes us to that fourth place, which is remember, nothing is personal. When we've actually cultivated this relationship with our own felt sense ability, being able to track sensations and energy, being able to track their impact on our emotional body, being able to identify your feelings and needs after you've self-regulated, and being able to take that information into more concise and conversations that lead with love and compassion. And it doesn't mean that you don't feel angry. And this is also part of knowing yourself and the importance. Know your anger, know your rage, and learn how to create an environment, whether it's with help or coaching or counsel or on your own, is where you can create an environment to feel safe to start to feel those feelings, so they are no longer controlling and impacting your relationships. They're no longer becoming like this endless abyss where you just don't no longer have integrity and presence. And so again, I'm going to repeat that this is the importance of creating an intimate relationship with yourself. It's so much more than just self-love, because in my view is self-love. You're taking these actions I speak about, being accountable, being aware of feelings and needs, knowing your evaluation interpretations, being able to self-regulate, remember that nothing is personal. These are all acts of self-love. And now your vessel, your body, your existence can actually become a clear field to know another person, to build a relationship from. And so if you feel that, like you're like, yeah, I want more of this. How do I even do this? I've been running from these uncomfortable places all my life. I continue to get stuck in the blame when I'm in this intense trigger space with my partner. I notice like when my colleagues do stuff that I feel walked all over, I get stuck in blame and attack and start to defend myself. Like if this resonates, if that is relatable to you, I want to extend an invitation. And that invitation is to the upcoming program, 10-week program called Mastery of Connection, Redefining Intimacy. This program is a 10-week live virtual course that's bringing together some epic humans from all around the globe. And we meet once a week for 10 weeks, 10 consecutive weeks. Between now and December 20th, there is an early bird special. And if you feel called or curious in any way, I'm offering a select amount of free discovery calls to have a conversation about it, to see if this could potentially fit some of your needs right now when it comes to really developing this intimate relationship with yourself, to learning a new kind of emotional literacy, new tools for interrelating, new ways to voice and be be connected to your personal boundaries, to your center, to your grounding, especially today, right? 2020 has challenged us all in various ways. So my offer is that we show up big for the beginning of 2021. The course starts on January 6th. So again, I look forward to hearing from you. You comment below if this topic relates to you. Like if you're like, yeah, man, I've been there. Just say yes in the comments. Otherwise, send me a personal message, and I look forward to talking with you soon and learning more about your needs in this time of your life. Be well.